in all honesty, this isn't really something that I talk about much in the teacher training. So on these calls, I don't want to just go over things on the teach that are already in the teacher training. So I want to either add, answer questions, do teaching practices, definitely do some brainstorming, and just give you additional valuable information that's come up for you during the training. So this is something that people were talking about a few weeks ago. And I would say there's three, let's say, types of resources to look at. So we've got children's resources. So this is specifically to children. They might not be yoga resources. They could be like things that you have day to day that you could use from your home, or they're things that if you're working with a school, you'll also have access to. And then the second thing is yoga resources that we also use with adults. And then thirdly, no resources. So if you're just starting out, or if you're teaching in the park or at the beach, or if you're teaching with, in a community center where they don't even have yoga mats, what can you do to make sure that you're supporting the children, engaging the children, and helping them focus, even if you don't have any resources? So, Evelyn, where are you up to on the training, just so I know?
I think it's module 4.
Okay, so you've done early years, pranayama, all of those workshops.
I think it's the yeah, it's the pranayama work, that module that I'm in right now.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Justina, you're, I'm guessing, right at the beginning. So she just,
I've not, well, to be honest, I've watched. The thing is, like the fair, I think it was quite difficult to, like, not difficult, but challenging to get into it. But then I think, like, I think I've done, it says 30%. So I was like, oh, impressive.
oh,
And I've done I've actually, I was making notes because that was like, I enjoyed it. I think it was 3 to 7 classes, and then 8 to 11, and then teens.
okay.
Well, I haven't got the title written down here.
Yeah, so you've actually moved through it very quickly. So,
Yeah, but I think I need to slow down and kind of think about it. I haven't done any assignments though, because I'm actually, because I wanted to, well, sometimes I like things printed out, and I'm going to the office on Thursday. So I was like, oh, I'll do it on Thursday, and then I'll go through the assignments and things.
yeah, I think it's good to take some time to practice a little bit and process
Yeah.
things where you can. But yeah, it's good.
I think it's because, see, I have no experience. So then like I try to watch it to have like a bigger picture, more idea, rather than just be like, I only know this much, and I guess I can always rewatch it if I need to, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You can rewatch it for sure. So, the resources that I primarily use, honestly, especially with the younger children, is to keep them engaged for classroom management as well, because especially 6 years and under, classroom management is absolutely essential. If you don't have their focus and their engagement, they will be very disruptive, they will be hyperactive, overexcited, and really disruptive. So, 6 years and under, you do need a lot of it. They don't have to be resources, they don't have to be physical things, but you do need a lot of techniques to make sure that they're staying focused, engaged on what you're saying, and really on track, as well as helping them to stay, calm and grounded. So, the main resources that I typically use are feathers, storybooks, stones, pebbles, or sometimes crystals if I've got them. My magic bag, which I put things in, and then they can pull things out, and that just makes it more engaging for them to take whatever object or card is inside.
I like the cards as well. I've seen them on one of the pictures yesterday, I think.
Yeah, the postcards I actually only started using a couple of years ago. So there's lots and lots of different types of postcards.
Yeah, because they're like kids ones, isn't it? See, I've got the adult ones, so I don't know if you can see. See, I've got these, but they like adult
Yeah.
ones.
These ones are specific, so you can see it there on that photo. These ones I've got feelings card, emotions cards,
Oh,
and
okay.
postcards. And These are created by one of my students. So they're really, really beautiful. And they're
I,
specifically for kids. Yeah, they're like
I've just ordered them
Oh, you have.
because now I'm in Europe, so they can actually be
Where do
delivered.
you buy,
So
where do you order them from?
uh
Amazon.
no, actually from their website. Laura
Just
sent the website around. And
yeah.
your discount
Yeah.
code works as well.
Oh,
So
that's
it's the
good.
15%. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll repost it in the WhatsApp group, Justina, in case you
Please,
want
yeah.
to look. 'Cause
No, I
she
really like
has a
them because
WhatsApp.
yeah, it's something visual as well, isn't it? So that's nice.
They're really nice, and the children really love them. But yeah, I only started using those a couple of years ago, so it's that you don't need them, but I will say they are a really good resource. Like I'm very glad that I have them now, and I do use them in every class. The glitter jar, which you can see there in that photo, which you can easily make. It was just a jar of what used to be olives or peanut butter or something, and then water and glitter. So super easy to make. Colored scarves, which are good for like dancing movement or eye pillows. I always have paper and pencils, always. It's the one thing that if you've got a whole group of really overwhelmed, hyperactive, excited children and they're not listening, they're not willing to participate, and it feels very overwhelming for you. If you get the pens and pencils out, they all just lie down, like you can see here, this little girl. They all just sit down, lie down, and then they start doing their mandala or drawing. You can guide them through something. But sometimes all they need is like 3 or 4 minutes, and it really, really helps them to settle. So I definitely suggest having paper and pencils always. And then I will often use flowers as well. So these are all different things. Typically, like for one class, I might use 2 or 3 resources because I don't want to be carrying them around, right? If you're going from class to class, if you've got a car, it's different. If you're using public transport or you're moving from one place to another, it's just not realistic to have all of these resources. And also, if you've got too many things going on, it's too many things for the children. So you want to try and find ways where you can use one resource, so one object, for multiple things. Okay. So as an example, this glitter jar, I will use it as an activity where we all lie down on our bellies and we each shake the jar, and then we just simply watch the glitter swirl to the bottom. And then that goes to the next person, they shake the jar, and then we all watch the glitter settle to the bottom. So it's a really simple, silent, well, maybe some music in the background, silent, relaxing activity. I will also use it like almost like a sand timer. So if we're doing a balancing activity, I will shake the glitter and we have to hold that pose until the glitter settles to the bottom. So I might choose tree pose, warrior 3, and boat pose. And we shake it, and then we all have to hold the pose until the glitter gets to the bottom. So it's like a really fun, easy sand timer. And then I would also use it maybe in the same class to help them with their breathing. So again, they shake the bottle, they shake the glitter, we take a deep breath in, and we have to make the exhale last all the way until the glitter's gone to the bottom. So it just makes that exhale longer, which makes them more calm. So that's 3 super simple ways that you can use a glitter jar. One with the poses to help them balance, one for breathing, for deep breaths, and then the third as a concentration, relaxation activity. So ways that you can think about, well, how could I actually use this resource, is just to ask yourself, can you use this object for breathing exercises or relaxation, or as a way to engage the children, like if they've lost their focus, bringing something like the glitter jar out is going to get them all back together. So if they're like becoming a bit distracted, you've got some children who have got up and moved over to somewhere else, some other children are just talking to each other. If you bring out the glitter jar, that really brings their focus back to you. Can you use it for an activity or a game or an interesting way to introduce poses? Or can you use that object to enhance their balance, their strength, or their coordination? So you can take any resource there. So let's say stones and pebbles. So if I ask myself, can I use stones in a breathing exercise? Yes, I could place the stone on their belly when they lie down to do deep belly breaths. So that way they can watch the stone go up and down as they inhale and exhale. So yes, I can use it on their belly. Can I use it in relaxation? Yes, I can put the stone on their forehead, which is so when they're lying down in Shavasana, I put the stone on their forehead and that helps them to stay still, believe it or not. You can try this, Evelyn, tonight. if they're not going to bed, you just put a little pebble on their head and it feels like they can't move it. So they just stay still. Or again, when they're lying down, I'll put the stones on their palms. So they're lying down with their palms facing up and the stones are on top, and it helps them to stay still and quiet. And it does help them to feel more grounded with that, just a stone or a pebble or a little rock. Can I use them for re-engagement activities? Maybe. So if all of the children have lost their focus and they're kind of getting overexcited, I would maybe bring out the pebbles. I would hide them in my hands or hide them in a box and shake them to get the children to come back to the center and see what I've got inside this box or inside my hand. Can I use it for an activity or a game? Mindful, as you'll see on this photo here, mindful rock drawing. So this was a really nice activity to do for the first 5 minutes of class while everybody got settled. They just each got a rock and then they each used permanent marker to decorate their own rock, which then we later used in relaxation. Could I use the stones or the rocks to enhance their balance or their strength? Yes, we could do some balancing poses and they can place the little pebble on the top of their head as they're doing their tree pose, or place it on their partner's back as they're doing warrior 3 to enhance their balance, to help them to stay focused on their balance. So it's just taking one object and then asking yourself, like, how could I use it in these different scenarios or in these different parts of my classes? So as an exercise now, I'm going to give you each one of these resources, and I just want you to go through those things and see, and some of them won't work, right? Some of them are not appropriate for breathing exercises. Some of them are not very good for enhancing their balance. But I just want you to start thinking about different ways that you could use these kind of objects in your classes. Rather than me just tell you how I use them, I want you to start thinking creatively, because that's what's going to help you be a much better teacher rather than just doing what I suggest you do. So I'm going to give Justina, if you take feathers, and then Evelyn, you can take, let's do something a bit different, colored scarves, which I would tend to use with the really little ones, 5 years and under. So just take a couple of minutes here and just think about and write down how you might use that object in these ways, or any other ways that you can think of that are related to yoga, relaxation, meditation, anything to do with yoga philosophy, mindfulness. And for everybody who is watching the recording, you can also do this. So choose one of the objects in that list, and then I want you to write it down. You can share it in the WhatsApp group or on Teachable. So I'll just give you 2 or 3 minutes to think about that. So it seems like so you two are definitely very creative, and we'll hear what everybody else has to say when they watch this recording. So then the other things that you're going to have more access to, obviously, if you're working in a yoga studio or if you have your own yoga studio at home, is the actual yoga resources. To be honest, I would say most studios only have mats, blocks, and maybe some form of singing bowl or wind chime, or one instrument that you could use. Very rarely do I see the fascia release balls. Eye pillows I tend to take in myself. Essential oils I always end up taking in myself. Some places have bolsters, which is really nice, especially for the teenagers, but also for the children. And blankets are also really nice as well, because I think, especially for 10 years and under, the heaviness of the blanket does support them in Shavasana to feel more relaxed. So mats, you're not always going to have mats, believe it or not. So in a yoga studio, yes. If you're in a school, you probably won't, you might not have mats. I would say, honestly, only about 40% of the schools that I work with have mats. The rest of the time, the schools either have those, like PE mats that are like the thick, like squishy mats that they use for like gym practice or like gymnastics, or they don't have anything. And then the children sit on the floor, which is totally fine because they're used to sitting on the floor, or you're in the park or whatever, or in the playground, and the children are used to that. If you are doing it independently, let's say you're teaching a class at the beach, in the park, in a community center, then you might ask the children to bring their own mats, or the parents to bring the mats for the children. But mats are a really great resource. Aside from the fact that we use them for yoga, as you can see here on the right, they're a really nice resource for relaxation. So the children roll themselves up. I call it the sushi roll. You can call it whatever you like, but they roll themselves up, and it does help them to feel very safe, very secure. They're like, you can see the little girl there. She's like basically passed out in relaxation. She's just like, she could not be more relaxed. And actually, she has ADHD, and she was very, very overexcited. So the fact that she then went in her little sushi roll at the end of class was really nice to see. So the mats are a resource that are not just for doing physical yoga on. So they're great for relaxation, but they're also a very good way for you to manage the class. Again, I call them little yoga islands, so they all know that they have to stay on their own island. Unless we're playing a game where we're moving all around the room, especially the 6 years and under, they're on their own yoga island. So that makes it more easy for you to manage. It helps support them to understand spatial awareness, boundaries, being in their own physical space. And it just helps them be a little bit more calmer and quieter, because they're not, all together in this one big space. It's like they have their own little mat, they have their own little space. And then I would say the blocks are especially good for teenagers, or for 8 years plus, when you're doing things like poses that are together or poses that are helping them with building strength, building control through the poses. Bolsters are great for all ages for relaxation. With the little ones, you know, one bolster is like the size of them, so they just like lie on it fully. Whereas the teenagers, you can use the bolsters under their knees. Sometimes if it's a flatter one, they can use it under their head. Really, any way they like to get more comfortable. And then the bowls, the singing bowls, really great for relaxation. For the younger children also, it is a great way to manage the classroom. Every time they hear the bowl ding, they have to freeze, be quiet, sit down, whatever it is that you want, but it's a great way to manage your class. So again, the questions that I would be asking myself is, can I use these objects or resources for breathing exercises, relaxation, restorative poses, activities or games, or again, enhancing balance or strength? So how we use them in adult classes, yeah, we can use them the same in the kids' classes, but we can also use them for other parts of the children's classes. So like the mats as a game, you could create what I call yoga stations. So I have 4 or 5 mats scattered around the room, and on each mat is a station, and it has a little challenge on it. And the children get 1 minute at each station, kind of like circuit training, actually, but with yoga poses and yoga movements. And if I didn't have the mats, it wouldn't work the same, because then it'd just be, they just wouldn't know. They kind of need to have this like physical boundary. So the mats can work in that way as well. Essential oils I really like to use for breathing, because it does help them get a deeper breath. So if you put an oil on the palm of their hands and then they take a deep breath in, I do this more with 10 years plus, and we just do 10 cleansing breaths together. So it really helps them get a super deep inhale, because they're trying to smell the scent. You don't have to put the oils on the skin. You can put them in a diffuser, or you can also put them in a spray, and when they're in Shavasana, you just spray around the room. That's quite nice as well, so it's not going on their skin. And then eye pillows, if they're like eye masks, which is the ones that I have, like from airlines, from the millions of flights that I take every year. So I just have the eye masks. Obviously, they can use them in relaxation, but it's also fun to use them, especially for 8 years plus. So they put their eye masks on, and then I would guide them through maybe some sun salutations, or I would give them instructions on a pose that they have to get into, but they've all got their eye masks on, so they really have to stay focused on their body. They have to really listen to what I'm saying, and it does hinder their balance a bit, so it really helps enhance their balance. Or you can use the eye masks as well for walking meditation, so it helps slow them down. They can't see where they're going, so they really have to focus on moving their feet very slowly and walking mindfully. The fascia release balls, do you know what I mean by those? They tend to be the spiky balls, or like tennis balls that you will often find in yoga studios, and you can use those. I don't use them as fascia release. I don't think children need that. Maybe teens, you can do it where they put it on the ball of their feet. They can stand in mountain and put it under their feet, or they could put it on their lower back. Is really nice for those that have got back pain, which is pretty much every teenager. But for the younger children, you can place those balls in between their feet, and they have to pass the ball around the circle while they're in their boat pose, or while they're lying on their back with their legs legs up in the air and they pass the ball between their feet. So these are all resources that you typically don't have to take with you. So if you know you're working in a yoga studio, you can be sure that you're going to have some of these resources. And so then you can have at the back of your mind, maybe, right, during Shavasana, I'm definitely going to use whatever instrument they have, and I'm going to use the blocks and the bolsters and the blankets if they've got them to get the children all cozy. And if they don't have them, I'm going to put them in the sushi roll. So these are definitely things that you can plan for. But I would say it's only really if you're working in a yoga studio, realistically. Schools will not have these. And then finally, if you've got no resources at all, not even a yoga mat, so this is how I was in India for a month and I was teaching at a school, teaching kids yoga at a school, and there were no resources, nothing at all. It was, we were outside, the playground was literally dirt, it was dry ground, it was earth. This is, yeah, what some of you will never teach like this, and some of you will only be teaching like this for a while. But this is also good for those of you that do have children and you want to just spontaneously do some yoga. You don't need to have resources. You don't even need to have mats. So what you can use instead is music, singing, chanting, your imagination, and definitely your personality and your energy are going to be your main resource here to keep the children engaged and to really support them. You can also use body percussion, so like clapping, clicking your fingers, tapping your shoulders, so making sounds with your body, with your hands on your body, self-massage, or you as the teacher can massage their hands and feet when they're in relaxation, and using the surrounding nature. So it could just be that you're in the park and you see that there are some flowers and you can use those flowers for breathing, or you ask the children to just go and find something interesting and they may come back with a twig or a stone or whatever, and you use that for breathing, or you use it to make a mandala. So this requires you to think a little bit more on your feet, like think on the spot. But if you know you're going into, say, a school or a community center and you don't have any resources, you can still really effectively teach just using you and your brain, you and your imagination, your singing voice, your personality. You know, you are the one that's going to keep them engaged with your energy. And I would say things like body percussion, clicking your fingers, clapping your hands. It can be done seated, or it could be when you're doing a sequence. You know, it could be that you do, you go through the sun salutations, and every time you move into a new pose, you tap and click, or something like that. So you can be in poses and doing like body percussion rhythm to keep them focused. And I would say honestly, the most difficult part with not having any resources is the relaxation. So to get them to relax, it's then all based on what you're saying to them or what you're physically helping them with. So if they're lying on the ground, they don't have a mat, then you could engage their imagination. Like, imagine that you're lying, you know, under the moon and it's nighttime and you feel safe and it's very quiet. Or it could be, imagine that your body is like an ice cream and it's just melting down into the ground. And you can go around and you can, you know, give them a little head massage. one that I used to do quite a lot was I would say that I was going to put a magic gem on the top of their head and they had to try and keep still in their shavasana. And I would literally just go around and you just put a little bit of pressure on the head so it feels like something is there, but it's all just imagination. So this requires you to be more creative, but I do believe that you're all very creative. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here doing a children's yoga teacher training because you do need creativity for that. So, any questions, whether it be about resources or anything else? Evelyn, how are you feeling?
Am I? No, I'm not good. I have no immediate question.
Did that all make sense and seem
It did.
relevant?
Yes, it did. I think the only thing is how to put it into practice, really. I think that's the next big step. Like, how do you integrate all of this in your class? But I guess that just takes practice. So
Yeah, because firstly, I would say for those of you that do have either children at home or access to be able to teach, like Marianne's teaching at a school, maybe just trying one thing to start with. So, just trying to take something that you've easily got access to. It could be a stone or a pine cone, and just trying to use it. For you, Evelyn, it could be at bedtime or sometime in the day where you want them to relax just for a couple of minutes, and then just see how that works. So guide some sort of relaxation, some sort of breathing using that one simple object so that you can kind of start to get into it. And then when you're planning your classes, you definitely don't want to overwhelm yourself at all. You don't want to be like, oh, I've got all these plans and all these activities and techniques, and now I have to have 55 different resources. Definitely not. But I would say I always feel like it's good to have like one object or one technique that you know will definitely settle the children, get their engagement back, and get them focused on you. And those main ones are paper and pencils, the glitter jar, and the feathers. So they're all quiet activities that are very interesting for children. A lot of them won't have seen a glitter jar, or if they have, they want to show you how to use it. Feathers, there's just something very magical about feathers, that children do not have access to feathers on a day-to-day basis. And it does promote a sense of like being quiet, being slow, being a bit more mindful. So in every class, I will have one of those three resources, if not two. And I just think it really helps you, even if you don't use it, it's a really nice backup to know if things are getting overexcited. Like honestly, they will. It's definitely 7 years and under. They get overexcited, they get easily distracted. And I think it just helps you, especially as a new teacher, to know, right, I've got this thing that I can pull out of my bag if I feel like I've lost their engagement and they're getting overexcited and loud and I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna get this glitter jar out and I know for sure they're gonna feel calm and quiet and they're gonna settle. So they are really good classroom management resources, but they're also, resources there that are genuinely going to help the children learn how to breathe and relax more effectively than you just telling them to like sit down and inhale and exhale. So I think it's not about getting overwhelmed. You definitely don't need to be going out buying all of these things. I spent definitely the first 2 years of teaching, I didn't really have very much at all. I would use whatever nature was in the school or in the local area as I was walking to the school, or I would use the books that were in the school library, and that was pretty much it. Music. I always have music, so if you've got speakers, that's great. But yeah, music really sets the tone as well. So that is a great resource. But yeah, don't overwhelm yourself with like a million different things. These are all just ideas um, to help enhance your class and to help you to support the children, yeah, to learn a bit more effectively and to make your class really interesting and engaging, which is important, especially for the younger children.
Mhm.
And
Laura.
Justina, do you have any questions?
Yes, so now you've mentioned, I think it's not essentially about the props and everything, but now you've mentioned music. So like what type, if it's, is it a music that is just playing in the background? So would that be like like, you know, relaxation and meditation music? Or is it like, because obviously like, you know, you were talking in like the videos that I've watched about like, I don't know, the song, like, is everybody sitting? I'm like, oh my God, can I actually do that? So it's
Yeah.
like, what is it, like children's songs, or is it yeah, what type of music would you play?
So for 5 years and under, I sing a lot, and I definitely recommend the instructional song of some kind is Everybody Sitting, because it
Yeah.
does really help them stay focused. Is an easy way to get their attention if they're not sitting or listening and you really need them to, and it feels like the class is a bit out of control. So I personally sing a lot with the 5 years and under. And then with if I'm playing any games, let's say musical freeze, so for 10 years and under, the song really makes a difference as to whether the children are going to be high energy, which sometimes you want. Sometimes you want high energy, fun, playfulness, and sometimes you want them to be move calmly and quietly. So it might be, I use a lot of like songs from Disney so that they're familiar. And they tend to be good songs, and they're not like, I don't use a lot of like the wheels on the bus or nursery rhymes
Okay.
because I just can't listen to them anymore. Like I've had enough. I've had 20 years of like
Fair
listening
enough,
to these
yeah.
nursery rhymes. And I feel like, yeah, I think some of the Disney songs can be, the children can recognize them, but it can also be a bit slower. It's not like super, super upbeat, like crazy, energetic movements. Or I will have sounds of nature, relaxation songs, songs that I would use in my adult classes as well.
Okay.
They're a bit more, you know, energetic, but not super high energy. I'll post my Spotify playlist in the WhatsApp group again, so you can have a look and see. You can
Okay, no, great, please,
list
yeah.
those.
Thank you.
But yeah, it was one thing that came up in the training this week in Hong Kong was that the teachers had planned an amazing class. It was super creative. They did so well, but the music did not match the activities. So when they were asking the children to be quiet and calm, the music was really high energy, and even sat watched like observing, it was very hard to not like want to move my body as, and that's
Okay.
handled. So you have to know, if you want the children to be quiet and calm, you've got to play music that helps them with that. And if you are playing music that's high energy, you cannot expect them to not want to get up and dance and move around. Children really respond to music, and they will hear the music more than they will be able to listen to your voice. So music is very, very important. And teenagers as well. I think with teenagers, it's really good to have background music to help set the mood, because it can feel a bit tense sometimes with teenagers, especially if it's a new group. So yeah, I mean, I use music in all of my classes, even my
Yeah.
adult classes. I think it just
No,
really
I think it's definitely nicer. There's something in the background, so then it like sets the kind of atmosphere, isn't it? So then when they come in, I guess they know, oh, that's the yoga class, there's music and this and this. Do you know what I mean? So
exactly.
yeah,
So
and it stays in your memories as well, isn't it?
yeah, it's what, sorry?
No, it's like stays in your memories as well when you like think
Yes.
about it. Oh, this is what I remember when I was like doing yoga or that. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, like what if you want them to start to be, quiet and calm when they come into the class, if you're playing high energy music, that's gonna help, that's gonna make them want to run around. So yeah, definitely makes a difference. So that is a good resource. That
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So, any other questions about anything?
All
No.
good, thanks.
All good. Okay, so I think for the next call, because Marion and Raquel also requested that they would like to do some teaching practice. So I'll put something in the group. There is no pressure to do teaching practices at all until your final teaching practice. But I would say that on the calls, it is, even if you're not doing a teaching practice, to come and get the feedback of everybody. But I think it is nice to practice, even if it's just 5 minutes of a breathing or a relaxation, just so you can get feedback, but also speaking out the relaxation is so very different to just writing it down or having it in your head. The same with like a sequence, if you're teaching a sun salutation sequence or if you're teaching a game, it feels very different to have to explain it and give the alignment cues and physically do it rather than just like writing down what you plan to do. So it is a good opportunity in a really non-judgmental environment to practice, to make mistakes, and to get some feedback. But there is no pressure to do that. It is just something that is there. If we're going to be here live, we may as well be kind of maximizing our time together with the idea sharing, but also with teaching practices. So I will put something in the group about that. And if there's nothing else, then we'll say goodbye.